What's up, gang? This is why less and less men, young men, are having jobs. I don't know if you've noticed, but in this day and age, more and more young people just don't have jobs. They're less motivated to go get jobs. You can see this in college, how less and less men are getting degrees. Literally more women have college degrees than men in this day and age. Now, we must think why this is. Since the last generation, there's obviously been many changes in society, such as feminism, mass immigration, many other things, possibly a rebellion of hatted men. But we're not here to talk about that. Here I have 5 reasons why it's just the case that less people have jobs. Now, 1, they're not motivated. Why? A lot of people say the young generation is lazy, that they just don't have the willpower, that they had it too easy and now they're just not hard, they're not tough, they can't make it in the workplace. They call in sick. Listen, I get it, but now I'm here to say, maybe the reason for that is there's no motivation. There is zero motivation to have a job these days. Why? Well, first of all, you can just go on welfare and make the same amount of money, except you're not spending any of your time. 2, due to inflation, which was purposely caused, and other aspects, such as the minimum wage not going up, due to mass immigration, you then have the people born in this country who, they're just not motivated to get a job. When you have lots of jobs and you fill them with foreign people, the supply and demand, there's more supply than demand for jobs. So minimum wage just doesn't go up. You might say, oh well, if there wasn't enough, if we didn't do that, then everything would become more expensive. Maybe they'd have to print more money to fund these businesses, to help pay for more wages. And to that I say, they already print the money, except none of it goes to you or your children. So you work more for less, and your money isn't worth anything. Like, if you compare what the previous generation made to our generation, and took into account inflation, and then took into account buying power, you'd realize we earn way less. We can't do half as much as our great-grandparents could. And I believe this is purposeful to destroy the nation. And then you have feminism. So now you have double the amount of people in the workforce, which means double the amount of taxes. They could at least use some of them taxes to increase the wage, but they don't. So now you have double the supply, but the demand stays the same. So just by that logic, wages are going to half. That's just how it is. So you just really have a lot of unmotivated men, because men, they need to build, and if you're doing something like a robot, nothing's really being built. You don't really have a purpose. You stacking shelves, a robot's AI is going to take over next year, easy. And really, that life doesn't have any meaning, because you're not really building anything. there's a certain level of like individualism you need when you're building yourself, and there's also a certain level of like society that needs to be involved in that. But due to all these factors I've mentioned, society isn't really a thing. Like, a lot of people couldn't care less about the people they live near, the people in their town. They just couldn't care less. Like, it's not, we don't live in like a trust society anymore. It's kind of like, I don't know, you see your neighbor leaving, I'm not going to say it, no, I don't know. But you do have this kind of aspect of you're less connected to the people in your town, you're less connected to the neighborhood, you're less trusting of them. You don't really feel like you need to do good for them, if that makes sense. And that has an impact on this also. Like, if you think about it, like, ideally, you want to, like, build a house around a good society, right? Some, like, people you enjoy living near, good neighbors, a nice town, something nice, you know? But really, the people in charge have kind of destroyed this for everyone. Like, every country is kind of lacking. They really want to put you onto welfare so they can control you. And, you know, even if you're on a job, you're now soulless. Like, it takes away your soul. You're treated like a piece of meat. Like, people are realizing when you take these like corporate jobs, you're literally cattle. You're like not even human anymore. You're gonna be slaughtered. So like, and people like pick up on that either like subconsciously or consciously. A lot of like if you pick up on that subconsciously, a lot of the time like people get violent, or people like they'll shout, they'll say stuff, and then HR comes in and fires them, right? But they're treated like a piece of meat, so that just happens. And then thirdly, with the wages and with like what you get, even with a degree, like even if you have a good degree, let's say like you're in engineering, it's not easy to pay a mortgage. And when I say not easy, it's really not even affordable. Like, a lot of people, they're never going to own a home. They're going to rent forever. And a lot of that is because just our wages are lower. They're worthless. The money is worthless. Why do you think Bitcoin has become a thing? It's because people realize that fiat money is literally a scam, and Bitcoin, this random, like, zero trust project that could, like, it could be Putin and he just nukes it one day. He has like all the supply of Bitcoin and he just sells all of it. This random thing is more trustable than your government's currency. So that's another thing. Um, you've also got like family. People aren't really having families anymore. People used to, men used to work for these families. They used to be like, yeah, we're gonna have a wife, we have kids, blah blah blah. But nowadays, I don't think either gender wants that anymore, due to feminism. And there's also other factors, like, quite frankly, it just isn't applicable anymore. You got lower wages, less value on the money, the living cost is higher than ever, especially with importing people. The housing, there's less houses, there's less places to rent, the prices are going up. We're going to be living like a third world country, and people are aware of this. So you've got family, you've got the fact you're never really going to own a house unless like you're really well off. And like if you live in the UK, it's a fucking shit house anyways. Like it's poor, it's a terrible house. If you live in the UK, you know. You got lack of wealth. You gonna struggle to save wealth. You're gonna struggle to build wealth. Really, you don't really have an option. You work a job for like your entire life and you get like barely anything out of it now. What's the point? And I feel like people are just aware of this. Like with the internet, with like the age of information, people aren't in the dark anymore. Like the truth is coming out of like the secret plan. There isn't actually a secret, but people still think it's a conspiracy theory. People just know. People are aware, especially the younger generation. Like they're figuring it out. And here's my last point. It is now. This has come along with like the age of information, like free information on the internet. That's crazy. But now you have the only escape, like literally the only escape, the only like applicable means you have to build the life you want: freedom, power, money, actual wealth, acquiring more Bitcoin, acquiring more gold, silver, like actual valuable currencies, not like a useless fiat that is going to be written off. People are not going to use fiat currency soon. Within the next like I would guess 10 years, but like realistically, within the next 20 years, I don't think fiat currency will be a thing. It'll all be crypto. It'll all be. Okay, second point. So the only hope is entrepreneurship. So there's like a wave of entrepreneurship. You're either gonna make it, like you see like 18-year-olds, 16-year-olds making 10K, 100K, they're growing a business, they've got agencies. You got this. Then on the other side you got like absolute deadbeats who like they got no job, they barely get a job. Maybe like if you're lucky they become a garbage man and become hired for like half a year before they get fired. So you've got like two ends of the spectrum now. And honestly, like people who get degrees, I think they're like basically in low class, like they're poor. Middle class isn't a thing anymore. It's really just being nullified to all being poor or rich. So it's like society's now like completely bipolar. You're either rich or you're poor. And by rich, I don't mean like super rich, I just mean like pretty rich. Rich is the new middle class. You gotta become rich to be middle class now. So with this new wave, that's just how it is. You got like welfare people, people with no job, people with jobs, and they're all in the same class. They all like earn the same amount of money. They're all controlled. They all, in fact, the people with a job are probably worse off because like they feel soulless. At least the people who are on welfare and they don't have a job, they have time to try and get to this category over here. So yeah, that is why men don't want to work anymore. Hope you learned something, and let us get that bread.